See, if you don't start seeing men as trees walking, if you don't start seeing people walking in the cross, even before they ever accept it, I'm telling you right now today, Jesus is not going to get back up on the cross for anybody else.
No.
He died once for all. And until you start seeing people walking that way, you'll never see them clearly. See, that's what this whole picture was. Man, I hope we're getting this. I won't silence if you don't. I mean, he's telling these people, if you'll just eat the finished work, then you'll begin to be able to hand it out to somebody. But I promise you this, you won't be able to hand anything out if you don't see them right. If you think that they're your enemy, you're not going to help them.
No.
You understand what I'm saying? See, we want to start so many things here in the church, and we want to have so many wonderful programs and things in the church. I'm not opposed to this thing. We need some of them. But what I'm saying is that there's a need out there. And if we don't take our filthy selves, our filthy backsides, and sit down on the filthy earth and identify with somebody, we're not going to be able to touch them.
Yep.
And somebody needs that.
Yes. Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
If we refuse, oh, Pastor, you shouldn't hang around people that do those things. Funny, Jesus did. For Jesus spent all his time hanging out with tax collectors and Republicans.
Yep.
At least I got a laugh out of it. Well, that's all right. It was Republicans and sinners, so Democrats are the sinners. But anyways, I'm not trying to be political. So anyways, as he made him look up, and he restored it, and he saw everything clearly. Now watch this, watch this, watch this. You know, we get frustrated, one, because we don't eat on the right stuff. Okay? Two, once we get full of something, we don't do what we're supposed to do naturally then. Now watch this. Remember I told you that Jesus fed the multitude and sent them on their way? That him and the disciples met with the Pharisees briefly and then got on the ship. The disciple says, we don't have anything to eat. Wait a minute, there were 7 baskets left over.
Yep.
That strikes me immediately as ding, 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 ding. Where were they? In the wilderness. When you walk into your wilderness journey, because it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
We live in a real life with real problems. I want to tell you something. The best thing you can do in a wilderness journey is go find the 7 baskets that were still left there. No, I didn't hear me.
Yes, sir.
When they left, nobody picked up the baskets. I believe that's for a reason. Because Jesus was going to say, in other words, he's saying the next time you get into a wilderness journey, I'm not going to have to go back and do another miracle. I've already done one in the wilderness. And I've left more than enough for you the next time that you end up in a wilderness place. I know it's different. And I'm not saying that miracles can't happen in the wilderness. That's not what I'm saying at all. But Jesus is trying to show you that he's enough, all by himself, right there, without a prayer line.
Yep.
If you're in a wilderness journey, I'm telling you, there's enough food left over in the wilderness for you right now. You've just got to eat your way out.
Thank you, Jesus.
So, which is also good for us from a standpoint of being able to see people correctly. If somebody needs something and they're in a wilderness place, and I promise you, if you're going to go meet somebody that doesn't come to church, they're probably going to be in a wilderness place. And some of them live some of them are far from home, and they're not going to make it. They're going to have some food.
Wow.
See, it's not by chance that 7 baskets were left in the wilderness. There's food there enough for those people to get home. And I'm not talking about heaven either. I'm talking about, listen, you have real life experiences. You have some real purpose on this earth.
Yep.
And if you'll take what the finished work of the cross has done, made it inside of you, and begin to hand it out to somebody else, you'll see this thing spread. You'll see this thing take off like a rocket. You'll begin to be able to eat your way out of problems that you didn't think there was no hope for.
Yep.
Nah, it's too simple. That's too easy. I don't believe that. Well, fine. Keep going the way you're going. Eventually, I know it'll come around. You'll be all right eventually. But the truth of it is that if you would just eat on the finished work of the cross, the problem takes care of itself all by itself.
Yes, sir.
Keep going your own way with it. I understand. That's fine. We like to do our own things because we can't follow commandments.
Yep.
That's tight, but it's right. I know. I'm just saying. So, my question to us is, how are we going to see people? Are we going to be a relevant church? You know, it's not that Jesus didn't care about numbers. I mean, and I'm beginning to rethink some things myself. I'd love to be able to preach in front of 10,000 people. I think it'd be fun. I could preach in front of 10 just the same. It's just as fun. You
Yep.
understand what I'm saying? It's just
Yes.
not about the numbers, but it's about how relevant we are
Yes, sir.
in our numbers. And if we're relevant, our numbers are going to grow. Don't blame me, just me, if our numbers aren't growing. Don't blame the praise team. Don't look at somebody and say, the Spirit has left this house. Baloney. I'm telling you, the Spirit's never going to leave this house as long as I'm walking in this place, I promise you. And as long as you're walking in this place, it's the same deal. Why? Because wherever you go, the Spirit goes. So don't tell me the whole... I got to get off that. That's not where I want to go. All I'm saying is are we going to be relevant? When people have a need, do they call Praise Continue? With the real problem, I'm not talking about just getting a bill paid or this or that. I'm talking about a real issue.
Yes.
When the mayor of this town calls Praise Continue and says, hey, we got a problem. We need you to fix it.
Yep.
That's when I know we're becoming relevant. Oh, and I'm not going to stop at the mayor of this town. I want to see the governor call us one day and say, hey,
Yes.
we got an issue.
Yes.
Come fix it.
Yes.
See, because what's happened is and we wonder why Muslims are getting as big as they are. It's because they go into a neighborhood and clean it up. Paint the walls, kick out the drug dealers, do everything that they have to do, show people real interest, become relevant. And so people automatically gravitate to that. While the church is sitting over on our couch, you know, dreaming about going to heaven.
Yep. Yep.
And we're not being relevant.
Yep.
Because we don't see people the right way.
Yep.
I mean, really, guys, that's what it all comes down to. We don't see people as trees, so we don't see any hope for them. It's us against them. How we got that mentality, I don't know. But it's us for them.
Yes.
That's our job. So if we want to be relevant in this thing, we're going to have to begin to give out what you've got. And if you've got something, I'm telling you, listen to me. If you've got something in your life, personally, we'll start there. Eat your way out of it.
Yes.
Start to figure out who you are in Christ. Dig into it. Find out. I'm telling you, I'm not telling you to read or pray or do anything specifically. That's between you and God. And you should do all three. But I'm just saying, find out who you are, however you've got to do that. And you'll begin to eat your way out of your problem that you're in. If you've got people that are around you, see, this is the thing. When you get full, you have the ability to hand it out. And if you can hand it out, then they're going to eat. And when they begin to eat the finished work of the cross. Now, I understand, not everything magically whisk away with a wand. I wish it did. I would buy that wand. Understand that. But what do? You just keep feeding. You just keep feeding them.
Yep.
You just keep feeding them. And eventually they'll eat their way right out of it.
Hallelujah.
Real quick story, let me tell you something about me. I know you guys love it when I tell them myself. Everybody in here probably knows by this point that I wasn't an angel growing up. I was a pretty good kid until, high school. I mean, until after high school. They got to college and, did some stuff, we'll say. Well, I told you about my dean's letter. The dean sent me a letter, told me not to come back to school.
Yep.
And so I ended up back home when I was working at Jayco at the time. I remember Mom and Dad just talking to me all the time. They loved me all the way through that. They loved me right on through those times. And they just, never didn't speak into my life positively. And I'm sure it had to be at least a good 3 years of pure hell for me. Sadly, my brother was right along with me. But anyways. But I'm sure it was a terrible time for me. And so what they did during that time was they just kept feeding me truth. They just kept feeding me life.
Right. Amen.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It didn't happen overnight, guys. Listen to me. When I came home from school, I was still pretty much worthless. I remember looking at my dad one day just telling him I'm just trying to survive. This is the low point of my life. And they just kept feeding me, and they just kept feeding me, and they just kept feeding me. And I'm sure at night they would go home and cry their eyes out. Because their boys were messing up so bad, but they just kept feeding me. And now I'm standing behind a pulpit of all places.
Yes, hallelujah.
That's really kind of funny to me. And it was all just because somebody kept feeding me.
Right.
But you know what? Had they never grabbed a hold of the finished work of the cross, then they would have had no food. They wouldn't have been full. You understand?
Yep.
If you're not full, you don't have enough to pass to somebody else.
Come on.
See, that's the key.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about full religious jargon. I'm talking about the finished work of the cross. If you're not full on the diet of the Lamb, then you don't have enough to give to somebody else. See, that's where it all starts. Anyways, there's my story. Stand with me, I'm finished.